After many months getting ready for this moment, we are finally able to insulate and finish all the interior of our house. This work started with me insulating the living room wall, with two types of insulation. One, this rock wool, with an aluminum face that goes right behind the flue of the main fireplace. Then I continued insulating with mineral wool, with craft paper, which works as a vapor barrier. This task is a very simple one, but with the itchiness of the material, you get tired of doing it in the first 5 minutes. Problem is that I had to do the whole house. After a few days, the house was all insulated and ready for drywall. If you have been a long-time follower of the channel, you might be curious to know who these two guys are. This is Maxime and this is Michel. We hired them to help me with the drywall. I really wanted to do it all by myself, since I wanted to control every single detail of this part, as you know, it is what you actually end up seeing when living in the house. But after doing some quick math with Eugenia, we realized that it will take me a couple of months to do this all by myself. And after so long working on building everything you see here, we kinda want to start living in it sooner rather than later, and for that we needed to speed up the process a little bit, to be able to move into it. So hiring 2 extra guys to help me with this seemed like a good idea, and a good way to give the house a push. Before we could start closing the walls, we had to make a small but important decision: how many layers of drywall we were going to install. Originally we thought about just doing a single layer, like in most homes, but after a lot of thought we decided to go for 2. It's more work, more material, and of course more cost, but it makes a huge difference. With 2 layers the walls become much more solid, rigid and harder, and it also improves the sound insulation, since the extra mass helps reduce vibrations and airborne noise between rooms. It is also a great way to improve fire resistance, since gypsum acts as a natural fire barrier. And from a purely practical point of view, double drywall allows you to stagger joints, which prevents cracks over time and gives you a better surface to fix heavy objects in the future, like cabinets, shelves, or anything that you want to hang. But most importantly, the second layer we chose isn't just another regular board. It is actually a high-density multi-purpose panel. It is extremely hard, soundproof, fireproof, and humidity resistant. It is the kind of board that you could hit with a hammer and it wouldn't even leave a mark. Not that I'm going to test it for you, by the way. So before we could install that one, we first had to put up the base layer, the foundation for everything that comes next. With the first layer already installed, we continued by fitting the baseboard profiles. We don't really like regular baseboards. They are useful to protect the bottom of the wall while you clean, but that's about it. Aesthetics are very important to me and traditional baseboards just don't look great. And after a lot of research, Eugenia found this profile from an Italian brand called AGS Systems. This profile is the S20 Shadow Gap. It is made in Italy from anodized black aluminum. It screws to the back of the wall and then the final board sits right on top of it. I installed that first profile together with Maxime and Michel so I could show them exactly how it worked. That way, once we all understood the system, each of us could work on different parts independently, just helping each other out when it came to lifting or positioning the larger panels. As I mentioned earlier, staggering the joints is great for strength and stability, but if you want to make it a step further, it really helps to fill the joints of the first layer before installing the second one. That gives the top board a solid, even base to rest on, instead of sitting over the gaps. Just for you to know, normal drywall has a small indentation along the edges to hold the joint tape, and if you don't fill that up, you end up with a small dip behind the second layer. So that's what we did. We filled every joint with joint compound and let it dry for a full day, and only then started preparing for the second layer of drywall. Before installing the baseboard profile, I wanted to take care of something that most people probably wouldn't even think about: sealing the bottom edge of the first drywall layer. It might seem like a small thing, but this simple step protects the wall from picking up any possible moisture from the concrete floor, and it also keeps any spills from sneaking underneath the wall to another room. Of course, that meant sealing over 175 meters of wall by hand, centimeter by centimeter, on my knees, which it took a while. But some things are worth doing properly, and this, for me, was definitely one of them. Even if it might look like this all happened in a single day, it did not. After a few days of steady work, we finally moved to the workshop area. Here I had already installed the first layer of drywall. You might remember that from a previous episode. I had also sealed the bottom, so we were all set to move forward. The plan was to install the shadow gap profile and then the second layer of drywall. Around the windows I had designed a small detail that I'm actually really proud of. I have never liked bulky frames, and I prefer when you see as little frame as necessary, so when I install the windows I position them perfectly flush with the surface where the first layer of drywall will sit. That way the second layer could overlap the frame and make it almost disappear into the wall. I could actually take it all the way to the edge of the frame and make it disappear, but we decided to settle for 3-4 millimeters. And since the drywall edges are fragile, we use a white aluminum corner profile. It not only protects the edges, but also let us fine-tune the alignment so everything lines up perfectly with the window frame, without having to rely entirely on a perfect drywall cut, which, as you might know, it is a very difficult thing to do. Hi guys, it's me from the future. The house is almost ready, and the only thing delaying our entry is the electricity, because here we have our solar panels and our off-grid setup, and the house is quite not ready yet. And setting up the whole off-grid system of the house with all the solar panels on the roof and the batteries and everything is gonna take a while. It's a complex system, and you know, we're 2 people only, but we don't want to wait much longer to move in. Actually, we are thinking of moving in this week. Instead of keep waiting, I've decided to upgrade my Bluetti so I can move in the house already. And for that, I got yesterday the Bluetti B500K, and a little surprise, the B500K connects directly to the Apex, giving me a huge boost in storage with this 5120 watts hour. It's a crazy amount, it's 5.12 kilowatts hour, which I can run more tools for longer without worrying about recharging it. It is actually even more power than what we have up there in the cabin. It fits seamlessly with the Apex 300 in its modular system. As you can see, it is plug and play. And you can easily scale it up. If I ever want to push the system further, I can just add more batteries and go all the way up to 100 kilowatts hour. It works not only with the Apex 300, but also with other Bluetti systems, the AC200L, the AC300 and the AC500, and even with more models that will come up in the future. As you know, I had the Apex on wheels, but I decided to upgrade my setup with their trolley. It is actually a very solid piece of equipment, which makes it easy to roll between the house, you know, back and forth, and also going outdoor, as it actually has all-terrain wheels. So it fits perfectly into my off-grid setup, but it will also work as well as a home backup. For a serious workshop or even for an RV. Another thing that I appreciate is the new wireless design. There are not bulky cables between the units anymore, but feel solid, safe and easy to handle, especially when you move it around. And with the Apex B500K added to the system, I can now work for several days here at the building site, mixing, drilling, charging my tools, running the vacuum, my computer, my drone. I mean, whatever I throw at it, and it still have plenty of power. I mean, it will last for days. And I will be able to move in, install the fridge and a temporary kitchen. So, you know, it's something that I can keep and expand as my setup grows. Charging it is flexible too, like the same way that my Apex. I can charge it either from solar, from AC, or through my generator. And for its size, it's one of the most affordable high-capacity batteries out there. So if you already have a Bluetti system, or you're planning to build one, the B500K is a very solid way to add more storage without any hassle. It is efficient, flexible, and a pro tool built to last. You will find my special link, a discount code, down below. And now I finally get to fix something that has been bothering me for months. It is this mess. All these cables have been just hanging here, waiting for the moment I could finally install the junction box. I couldn't do that until the drywall was in place, so now that the walls are finally up, I can start organizing everything, making it look clean, structured, and exactly the way I like things to be. There is something oddly satisfying about bringing order to chaos, especially when it's something that has been staring at you every single day for so long. After a week and a half of constant work, this part of the house was still not insulated. It's the exterior passage in front of the workshop, where we have the outdoor powder room, the laundry, and the mechanical room. I had already insulated and cladded the mechanical room in previous episode, as you might remember, and now it was finally time to finish the other two rooms, which will mark the end of the insulation phase once and for all. We ran out of 9 cm thick mineral wool that I have been using everywhere else, and the only one that I could find in my local store was this 5 cm one, but without a vapor barrier. So I decided to install that as a first layer inside the wall. Then I found another package of 5 cm again, but this time with craft paper, so I could add a final layer before putting up the drywall. With all the insulation and all the layers combined, the walls of the house ended up being with an insulation value of around R36, or if you are in Europe, 6.4 RSI in metric, which is pretty incredible for a home of this size. That means that the house keeps its temperature stable for hours with barely any energy input. In winter, once the mass of the building warms up, it holds the heat like a thermal battery, staying warm and nice during the whole winter. And in summer, even on the hottest days, it will stay cool inside. For us, living off-grid, that kind of performance is everything. It means that the batteries and solar panels have to work less. The heating and cooling system will barely run, and the comfort stays the same no matter what's happening outside. Every bit of work, every layer of material that we have installed up to this day directly translates into a quieter, more stable, and more efficient home. After that, I continued with another special baseboard. This one is also from AGS System. This time it's the ILU B, an LED shadow profile. Once installed, it looks exactly like the S20 that we have been using around the house, keeping that same clean, minimal line, but the magic happens when I flick the switch. The entire baseboard lights up, washing the corridor and the walk-in closet with a soft, indirect glow. I wasn't really happy with how they left this hole here, so I took some moment to fix it myself and get the profile ready for the cable connection. One of the main reasons that I like working alone and actually avoid hiring help is because when I work alone, I don't have to explain what and why I do things how I do. Because most of my construction details are not the typical ones. Some will say they are unorthodox, but I have a clear idea of the end product that I want and how to get there. And most of the workers out there do things one way and that's it. It's very complicated to change their mind. They just do it like that and are not very open for change. Fortunately for me, when Maxine and Michelle entered the building for the first time, they understood right away that this is not a typical house where they charge by linear meter or drywall install. I told them that I was going to pay them by the hour, not by the work done. This is a one-of-a-kind project where I care about every millimeter of the design, and they were blown away by the structure, the cables, the pipes, the air ducts that we installed in the previous episodes, and by the ideas that I had on all the construction details we were going to implement for the drywall. And they were completely open to adapt their skill set to help us achieve our vision. They were very good workers, as you are about to see during this episode, and were able to surpass everything I could have hoped for. And finally, the last piece of the puzzle. Getting this house from the foundation all the way to this kind of detail has taken us months and months of prep work, sketching, overthinking, and constantly trying to make all the pieces fit together so that now, at this stage, everything works exactly as we imagined. And at the same time, it looks easy. So the goal was to, when someone walks in the house looks easy, but it wasn't easy. There was a lot of thought behind it. We need doors between rooms, of course. We are not gonna live with all the rooms open to each other, but as you could probably guess by now, I am not a big fan of visible frames. So when we designed this corridor, I came up with a detail that would let us hide the door completely flush with the wall, with all the frames fully concealed. For that, I had these 2mm thick steel profiles, custom bent and powder coated in white by a local company. I ordered them slightly longer than needed just to have some room for adjustment once on site. Then I cut them to size, pre-drilled the holes and countersunk them, so the screw heads will sit perfectly flush. It felt a little bit strange at first having people around me while working. I'm so used to doing things alone, but they were relaxed and laid back, and so was I. At this point, Michelle was working in the same area, and I couldn't really pass. So I just told him to finish up what he was doing with no rush while I changed the camera angle and got ready for the next shot. And here is how it goes. To fix the profile to the wall, I use MS polymer glue and a few screws going straight through the drywall and into the steel structure behind. Before setting it in place, I use a small 2mm shim that I had 3D printed in the past to lift the profile slightly off the floor, just enough so it will not touch the concrete. It's a tiny detail, but it keeps the metal perfectly aligned and protected from any moisture. I made sure to align the profile flush with the first layer of the drywall using this roller, and actually that is why I had to wait until the first layer of drywall was installed to do this part. Later on, the second layer of drywall will overlap it, completely hiding the profile that I just installed from the view. It will only be seen once we open the door, and just a fraction of it, but I will show you now. This metal frame will serve as the door jamb, the piece that the door closes against. It protects the drywall from taking the impact load every time that someone shuts the door, and in the long run, that helps prevent cracks and keeps everything solid and clean. Alright guys, it's been like 2 weeks of non-stop working with the guys. We finished, as you can see, the whole workshop. It's all finished, all the walls. We are just missing doing the joints, finishing all the joints. And then after we finish the joints, we will go ahead and install the ceiling, because the ceiling has a profile, a shadow profile all around the perimeter. So we would like to finish the joints and make them nice before we do install that profile, so everything looks very good. I also finished yesterday this box. As you can see, it's a box that will connect with the pipe of the fireplace. And this box, it goes all the way in the interior of the chimney that I installed. It's still closed. I will just make a hole where the pipe goes and feed it all the way outside. I barely had any time to film. Well, I tried to film as much as possible, but we were working very fast and I had to go helping them in one thing or another pretty much the whole day as I finished sealing all the buttons and doing like all the doors and installing all the custom profiles. They were cladding with drywall. Here, as you can see, the living room walls are finished. Everything is cladded. Here is the profile that we're installing in all the windows and doors. So you can see here, for example, in this window, it's there. And then here is how little we see from the window. Is just fantastic, man. It used to be, the frame used to be like over here, and now we extended the drywall and installed this corner profile just to protect the drywall, and it looks very, very good. These walls still need the second layer. The second layer is the blue one, which is a special drywall that is extremely hard. We're still missing the second layer of drywall, and before that I already sealed the connection to the floor, and we need to install an LED profile that is this guy from AGS. Here at the bottom there will be an LED strip. The panel sits on top of this, but before doing that we need to actually we would like to finish the whole thing. This room is also, this is office, and it's also finished, also with the same detail in the corners of the window. As you can see, pretty much no frame, just the frame that moves is what you see. And then this bathroom is also finished, the walls. That's where the toilet needs to go. Towel warmer, sink, shower, and this over here will be the shower that I will be finishing in a future episode. Then we have the extra room, which is here right now. We're using it where all the tools are. We moved the tools from the kitchen to this room because this room is already finished. We just need to do the joints. And again, the window is also with the same detail. And now we're working on the master. The master closet is all finished already. As you can see here, this is where all the cabinets are gonna be. It's gonna be a window here that sees through to the shower. And this box is inside the wall, and it is because we will have a hidden AC unit in that wall of the master. And the master is almost there. We are working on it now. The guys are at lunch and I stayed here so I could work a little bit longer. And we also finished the tunnel fireplace that connects the master bedroom to the master bathroom, so you see through it. And here is a close-up detail of how we're doing this. Right now this is still loose. We need to secure it to the drywall, but as you can see, we are gonna be leaving like 2 millimeters tolerance all around the perimeter of the fireplace. We just need to push this a little bit down and then this a little bit closer. I already also installed this steel profile, so the door will close over here and it will be flush to the wall. We're missing one board here. There will be another board that goes all the way to the edge of this door. Basically we're gonna be installing this second drywall all the way to here. It covers the door frame basically, and there will be a profile, an edge profile to make this edge nice and clean. This is just a leftover, but it's just to show you. And basically the door will be also flush to the last drywall. So if you see a detail here, shadow profile, and then this guy will sit here on top, flush to the frame, and then the door will be flush to this outer drywall. Here, as you can see, there is a piece of wood that I installed before they came, but I was in a very big rush because I knew they were coming and I needed to finish this for them to be able to do the drywall. I placed these pieces of wood exactly where the door is going to go, so I am able to install the hinges in the door. That's one thing that I don't like from steel framing, that it's very difficult to install doors. So I always like to install wood where I know the door is going to be. Now what I need to do is just sticking out a little bit over here, and here is flush to the wall. That's because the fireplace is a little bit tilting forward. It's like this, so I need to loosen a couple of bolts in the 2 feet on the other side and push the top part a little bit in. Everything is coming together very quickly and very nice. It's amazing to have 2 guys that pretty much work as fast as I do, or I would say sometimes some things even faster. I just need to tell them, hey, I want this to be like this, for this reason, and they don't even second guess it. They just do it like that, and I don't have to be on top of them. So it's been a blessing, man. It's been a very huge help. I think it's been 10 days of work right now, 5 days and 5 days, and today is Saturday because they are gonna be working through the weekend of the second week. But it's almost ready, man. That's the good thing about installing 2 layers. It makes the walls extremely strong and durable. And also the good thing about installing this second very hard and heavy duty board, which is very strong. It was a bit more expensive, but you put this once and you don't put it ever again. So I think it's worth it. I mean, right now I don't like the color, the blue color. They could be white, but I guess the brand needed to make some sort of a difference in color so people could realize what type of board it is. They picked this blue color, which I don't like, but it's temporary because we will be painting all the walls very, very soon. This was 3 weeks of non-stop work, long days and no weekends for me for 3 weeks straight, and it marks the end of another huge phase in this project. The walls are finally insulated and closed up. What it used to be a frame is now starting to feel like a real home. Every screw, every board, every layer that we have added brings us one step closer to living here. After all these months, we can finally start to imagine our lives inside these walls.